I've read it many times over the years, and it's had some fresh meaning for me. So I want to share a little bit. I have here of late, and I shared part of this with you as we are getting ourselves ready for 2012 and preparing our hearts for our theme for 2012. What does it really mean to be one body and one church? What does it really mean? And when I was in my teens, during the time when the Christian church was afflicted by the concept of eschatology, to the point at which they had us all scared to death. Right. Some of you don't remember that time, but honey, they had more movies about the rapture, and we could just see ourselves riding down the street in a car, and folks snatched and then they hit you from behind because God plucked them out, and you didn't make it, and you'd be jumping up trying to get in it, trying to figure out why God missed you. And then anybody remember that time? And Tim LaHaye and all of them were doing what they did, and the books came out, Satan is alive and well, and Planet Earth, and 666, and 1000, and honey, we were some terrified young people. We spent all of our time trying to get right with God and do it now so that we wouldn't get plucked out, and would get plucked out at the time of the rapture. And it was also a time of great interpretation of prophecy, and particularly Revelation. You know, you read Revelation, and I am a very honest preacher. Some of you all know me. You know that I don't play games with people about my own journey. And I've read the book of Revelation several times over, and most of it does not make sense to me at all.
Well, okay. Love you.
Till yet. When I was a teenager, it made perfectly good sense. Because the people told me that one of the people was the communism, one of the symbols, one of the illustrations was China, another illustration was something else. Anyway, all the people that our country didn't like, we found them in Revelation as some wicked description or illustration, and or a horn on the beast, or one of the riders of the apocalypse, and we just had it all worked out till communism fell. And it blew a hole in all of our stuff. What we, you know what I mean? What we believed about what they said. Well, I guess there's that. And now we're trying to figure out what to do going forward. And the truth of the illustrations and the types of the things that are in the middle of the testimony to the churches in Asia Minor and the testimony of the allegory of the new heaven and the new earth got very problematic for us, because we really thought we knew what God was about to do. And one of the people who really pushed this prophetic reality was the creator of family radio. Who is also the gentleman who told us that the coming of the Lord was going to be October 21st, and that was the second date. The first one was May 21st. Jesus did not appear in May. It also became very problematic because he gave a time for the coming of the Lord, which confused the people who were in different time zones. And they needed a more specific time. So if he's coming at midnight, then he's already been here. By the time he gets somewhere else. Anybody understand what I'm saying? It's like, which time zone? And so when it didn't work in May, he tried again in October. He has since resigned his position altogether and determined that he said in his last quote, "I don't know why the Lord tarries." And I wanted to say, I don't know why you set an appointment. That's what I'd like to understand is why did you think yourself? What kind of arrogance is that? To think that you can tell God what to do and when to do it with a very specific date and time. It was very troubling to me. I lift these things up for you because these are cataclysmic disappointments for some people in the Bible. There are people who, when communism fell, they were very frustrated. Because they had hoped that something apocalyptic would happen, something eschatological would happen. When it didn't happen the way that they expected for it to happen, a lot of people lost their faith. There were people that sold off their stuff at the turn of the century.
My Lord.
Because they thought that the coming in of a new millennium meant that something apocalyptic was going to happen. Airplanes would fall out of the sky. Computers would break down. Countries would melt down into war. Simply because the century changed. Anybody understand me? There were people that watched the ball fall in New York City, getting ready with their hands up, waiting for the Lord to come and pluck them, because it was going to be the coming of the Lord. And they were disappointed. Now, can I make this a little more real and then share with you this passage in the Bible? There are things that we came to believe that God would do, and who God really is, and how God really functioned. And it didn't work out like we anticipated.
What?
Anybody walking with me?
Yeah.
When you laid your eyes upon that person. And something in you said, this has to be God. There's no other way somebody can look, walk, talk, sing, or not. And like this, and this not be God. This is God. If ever I've seen God be God, this is God. Only to be with him or her for a time, and then find yourself calling upon God. Get me out, Jesus.
Get me out today.
Get me out today. And then some of us are terribly disappointed because of the outcome. Anybody understand me? And I have some preacher colleagues. Some of them are sons and daughters of this ministry and other branches and sproutings of our ministry, who expected to have a mega church in the first year, second year, third year, fifth year. Didn't count up the cost of it. They didn't really sit down and think about that thing. That when you are serving a population that is already marginalized,
How about it?
every one of us is 100 people in another church. You didn't hear me. Every one person that walks in the city of refuge represents 100 people that go over to the I'll hide until they figure me out temple. See, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. Did you hear me? I said, I know what I'm talking about. See, I know where I am, and I know the cost of being in an industry like this. And we have some people that thought in 5 years that they wouldn't be able to turn for the people. And because it didn't turn out like they anticipated, not only are they disappointed with God, but their faith. They're wondering, they're questioning whether or not God is really God. You hear what I'm saying? I know people who have had incredible loss, have lost your mother, lost your father, lost your job, lost your lover, lost your money. And your question is, so maybe God is not really God. And then our mind drifts over to, maybe we're just making it all up.
Bishop.
And if you haven't thought this,
Bishop.
at some point in your life, you're not a real thinker.
Bishop.
Whether we admit it or not, there are some things that have happened that make you stop and say, you know what? I'm not completely certain that this is not just a farce. Just a whole lot of ado about nothing. And this is what Jeremiah said. Will you stick with me just for a minute? We're going to go. Jeremiah 2:13. He said, for my people have committed two evils. They've forsaken me, God said, the fountain of living water. And the second thing is that they've dug out pots for themselves, cisterns, cracked cisterns that can hold no water. Two issues that God is having with Israel. And I want to say this to you at this time of year, particularly